Welcome to Mad Markets. Paul Theron from Vestac joins me. You look very attractive today, I must say. I think it might be the hat that works for you.
This is the Springbok. If viewers in Africa don't know the sport of rugby,
yes,
we're supporting the team. They're on their way to New Zealand. Yeah.
I can see that the camera people are having trouble actually focusing on you because you've got an extra 10 centimeters or 20, 30 centimeters on your head. Okay, so Jackson Hole, Ben Bernanke,
yes,
leaving the door open for possible stimulus in the next meeting. And then I think that also we need to be cognizant of the fact that, yes, quantitative easing too was announced this time last year, but it was also sort of a dragged out process where we saw a bit of sort of rhetoric hinted at Jackson Hole, and then it happened. A likely scenario this time around or not?
I don't think so. I mean, my overall sense of where the Fed is at is that they feel as though they've done what they needed to do when they needed to do it, and now the economic recovery, if somewhat tepid, is kind of proceeding. And so I wasn't surprised by today's announcement. I think those people that were looking for the bag of sweeties to be handed out are idiots. And initially the reaction was very negative, and so people thought we were going to see a massive sell-off because what? No QE3. But I can see now the market is in the green, and I think it's really because, in that way that people are always in sort of semi-denial. It's almost like, okay, so we don't need stimulus. That means we're okay, right? So that means, we should be bidding the market higher.
No, but everyone's actually focusing on the fact that he's saying that they will take action if need be. And remember with these speeches that it seems the market just sort of, dissects what is being said, and then they just hang on to that one piece of information that they want to hear.
Well, to be honest, I didn't read the speech, but I'm waiting for the movie version, the shortened one. I think we shouldn't overthink this thing. They always have a bag of tools available to do whatever needs to be doing. But if they don't think it's an emergency and they don't think the fire extinguisher is required or that the defibrillator is required, well then, who are we to second guess that? Let's just all get on with doing what we do in the global economy.
And we've seen gold recover. We're seeing the DAX in Germany, which was down 4%. It's now down 0.6%. Everyone's looking far happier.
Yes.
So, yeah. All right. Lots of corporate earnings out this week. What really
the highlights
stuck out?
of the week for
tell us
me
what stuck out for you.
were BHP Billiton's results, which were fantastic. And I cannot understand how that thing continues to trade at such a pathetically low price to earnings ratio. Less than 10, whereas back in 2008 it was on a PE of 15. The problem is that they're not a US corporation. So they've got to do something about that. They've got to move the head office from Melbourne to New York at once.
Well, actually, the interview that I conducted with Michael Harris from Bank of America Merrill Lynch, he actually said that one of the reasons that resources are coming under pressure, on the equity front, is because we might just see some more trouble hitting from the, coming through from the developed market, and
that's obviously wrong.
But then I mentioned China and India, and of course the big demand and massive urbanization, and he said, well, we're still focusing on the developed world, and that is still going to have an impact on demand for commodities, whether we like it or not. Do you think that explains why Anglo-American is still coming under pressure and BHP Billiton still hasn't re-rated?
Look, I think it's a travesty. I think people are obviously too negative and too nervous. You know the old thing about Dr. Copper? In the old days, Dr. Copper used to be basically a function of how much piping they were putting into American households and into American-made motor cars. Now, of course, Dr. Copper's operations are more global. So I think it's a total picture. It's not just emerging markets, it's not just developed world, it's a kind of combination of both. So to be fair, look, we'll see how it goes. The US economy is only growing at 1% per annum. That's pathetic. For a country of that scale, it ought to be doing a lot better. China's growing at 9 or 10 or whatever.
Mr. Optimist, you can maybe tell us.
Well, it isn't because people are not feeling sufficiently optimistic about the future to hire and to spend. So it's just in the nature of things. It's what happens when you have a severe recession. It just takes time. I'm sure that in about 80 years' time, the US economy will have recovered.
That's quite a while away. I hope that we're still around.
I was cutting it down. It was 800 years before, now it's only 80.
Okay, let's also just delve into some of the reasons that the US economy is not growing as strongly. Some would argue that because we actually knew when quantitative easing would end that we created our very own soft patch in a sense, because market had anticipated it, so hiring perhaps sort of came to a halt, and people were slightly less optimistic over that period because they didn't know what impact it would have overall on the commodity space and on currencies and global growth.
Yeah, but to be fair, unless you had a PhD in economics, I don't think anybody ever really understood how QE2 really worked. It was the Fed using imaginary money to buy treasury bills to create additional money supply or something like that. So for most people, I think, it came and went and it's back to business and back to, kind of what we're doing.
short ban, the banning of short selling in
that's
Europe
nonsense,
has it's been extended in
Yes.
Belgium, in
So what?
Italy,
It's
and
been a
France
massive
until the
success,
end.
so we decided to extend it.
Exactly. So why don't we just ban anything bad?
Yeah, no, that's definitely next week's agenda. We're going to ban anything that could be seen as pessimistic.
Can we ban us losing from any rugby
that
match
too.
as well?
That
Fantastic.
too. Good idea.